Next headline here is Travis Scott's Astronomical concert on Fortnite attracted more than 12 million people. So I actually watched 10 minutes of this earlier today. Super interesting, actually really fun. I play Fortnite from time to time, although I didn't bring my PlayStation down to Florida. But it was sad to see what I missed out on. So obviously, with concerts not happening around the world, Travis Scott decided to have a virtual concert inside of Fortnite. This was in partnership with Fortnite and Epic. Fortnite actually did a similar concert last year with an artist called Marshmello. For the concert, Travis Scott used the entirety of the Fortnite island. Basically, the whole thing turned into about a 15-minute concert, which is really cool. I highly recommend watching the YouTube video. And it was obviously very successful. So, question to you all: what does the future of entertainment and content creation look like, and how do things like this play in?
I can go first, maybe. So, I've always been touting this idea since I was living inside of World of Warcraft for 3 years in my early teenage years, where my parents and the adults always say that you were being antisocial by sitting and playing these games all day, and there's an element to that. But in fact, what attracts people to computer games, and has always been since it went online, is a lot of the social aspect. I think it's just, and I think we've talked about this before, generational shift. It's taken 15 years for that to become a mainstream thing, where Travis Scott, a mainstream hip hop rapper, does that. It's not just the weird geeks who play World of Warcraft, right? So I think we're going to see lots more of this. I think the next social media network is going to be about doing things together online, not just like looking at people's things online. I'm seeing it for myself, particularly in this lockdown. I'm from Denmark originally. I live in London. And I very rarely just pick up the phone and talk for 3 hours with an old buddy of mine, right? That's just not... I think maybe that's just me and my friends, but I think that's just not something that's like natural to me. But what we do is we play games together, right? So we can play Battlefield, or we can play Counter-Strike, or we can play Fortnite for 2 or 3 hours. And yes, we're playing the game, but really what we're doing is just hanging out, right? Because we're not physically together. And I think that's only going to accelerate. And I can't wait to see what the future is going to bring in terms of doing things together socially online. Because I think that's going to be a massive shift, and I don't think that has to do with AR and VR necessarily yet. I think that the kind of existing type of platforms that we have is going to facilitate that, like watching YouTube together, or playing computer games, or whatever creative activities or fun stuff you can do, Bitmojis and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the future is, I'd echo a lot of that. The future looks fantastic, and we can all sort of imagine the type of stuff that's going to happen, but I feel that the core problem for true mass adoption is still that VR has not found its killer app. There are a bunch of niche applications, from training to, of course, computer games, but even online gaming or gaming networks are still only a fraction of the total sort of 90 billion sales in global games. Interestingly, the 12 million people, I think that's about the number of units that are due to be sold this year, or estimated to be sold this year in VR headsets. But we're still a long way away from sort of, Mark Zuckerberg's, wish of a billion units out there. So we're going to see a huge amount of experimentation, I think, and that's all very exciting. I think a lot of it is still going to hinge on games, because ultimately they're more addictive, right? They're all about mastery. They're about social proof from the point of view of beating others in competition. Games have unpredictability, and they reward you, right? They ultimately reward the limbic system when you achieve something. So I personally think VR has been the thing it's been next year. Since we business partner invested in Oculus many moons ago, VR has been about to arrive full blown next year, for every year for the last as many years as I can remember. So
Since the 70s.
Since the 70s. So this is a fantastic step forward. I think about 1% of Steam users have a headset, so it's a tiny fraction at the moment still. But it's exciting.
Shahin, what are your thoughts on the future of entertainment and content? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was talking to myself on mute here. So I think the transition to this type of interaction has been many decades in the making. When I was in elementary school, I would play adventure games, Sierra Online games, King's Quest, Space Quest, Police Quest, with my friends on the phone, trying to figure out those adventures. And I think that the type of interactions have been evolving over the past few decades, and COVID has just accelerated that trend. So I agree 100% with Victor that many interactions that required phone calls maybe 10, 15 years ago can now be done on text, can now be done inside these virtual worlds, and are far richer than what they would be on the phone, and perhaps even richer than what they would be if you were to sit down in a coffee shop. What were you going to say?
Oh, no, I was just giving the 30-second warning.
I think maybe just a quick note to add, which I find really fascinating, which is a recent development, is I think the sort of idea of virtual items and in some ways virtual fashion, right? Where like I have a cousin who is 8 years old, and they don't care so much about what T-shirt they're wearing, but they care a lot about which Fortnite dance they have, or like which skins you have in Counter-Strike Global Offensive, for example, right? And people, like for me, I'm too old to understand it. I don't understand why anyone would pay $10 to have a gun in Counter-Strike that looks different, even though I play a lot of Counter-Strike myself. But I don't get that, right? But for a young generation of people, that is how you kind of show your identities, how you kind of show your status, like you would have done with physical items in the past. I think for a lot of people, it feels really weird, especially for like the adults. But I think that's a really clear sign that we're just moving into like a digital economy and a place where you're moving to be much more than just a username online, right? Which was what it was when I was a kid.
Awesome, guys. We'll move on. Go ahead, Andrew.
I was just going to say my 8-year-old niece is absolutely obsessed with Minecraft, and it's a whole world I'm now too old to understand properly.
The nice thing about being older with disposable income is that we can afford all of these different skins and different dance moves in Fortnite and all of that.